Let me tell you something. It's hard to start on YouTube.
Hey, for real, watch it. Damn!
It's even harder when you're in your 40s,
You good?
have kids,
The goose is not going to survive. Bye-bye to the goose.
and are 10 plus years into a career. But a year after starting my YouTube journey, I can say that this journey has been one of the most important endeavors of my life.
Look at that monster! Yeah! Look at that monster!
Want to hear how YouTube changed my life and how it might change yours? Let's go. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jonathan. I'm a wildlife ecology professor showing you how to build the wild kitchen. Okay, so it's been a year since I launched my YouTube channel, and I couldn't be more excited to talk to you about how this journey has gone. Starting YouTube in your 40s is hard. There's a lot of baggage that comes with being middle-aged and entering into a realm that seems to be made for younger people. In 1 year, I've posted roughly 28 videos, garnered 14,000 views, and gained 240 subscribers. And I think that's pretty good for my first year of being on this platform, given all the other stuff that I have going on in my life. So this episode, like a lot of the similar content, is meant to encourage anyone who's thinking about or has just started on their YouTube journey, and to provide some insight into how this journey might go. But what makes this video different from the others is the person speaking to you probably has more day-to-day responsibilities that take up my time and energy than your average person who starts on YouTube. So I say all that to say that if I can do this for a year and feel fulfilled and encouraged, then I think you can too. And if you're someone who hasn't started their YouTube journey, then I hope that this video will give you the encouragement and maybe a bit of a blueprint on how you might accomplish this, because it's totally worth it. So in this episode, I want to first talk about where the motivation for starting this YouTube channel came from, and then next I want to talk about my unique advantages that have allowed me to launch this channel. Next, I'm going to share with you some of the key lessons that I've learned over this past year, and then end with explaining my goals for the future. As usual, I provided chapter titles for this episode, so if you want to skip around to certain bits of this content, then feel free to do so. I also write about my 1 year experience on YouTube in my newsletter. So if you'd like to get an even more in-depth account of my first year on YouTube, then check out the link in the description. All right. Let's get started. Okay, so the motivation to start a YouTube channel really came from 3 sources. The first was my friend who kept telling me, dude, you just have to create this content. There aren't people who look like you, who are interested in the things that you're interested in doing, who have the perspective that you have. And the things that you're doing needs to exist on the internet. For a long time, I didn't really heed his words until I had gotten to a place where I was no longer subject to the toxicity that I was experiencing in that job. It took that freedom and an unfortunate accident with a goose to get me to begin to take his recommendation seriously. It was awkward at first, but at the end of recording that video, I felt that creating video content with my interest in wild foods could absolutely be a thing that I could do on a regular basis. The second motivation for starting my YouTube channel was the feedback I was getting in my career as a professor, that my voice and my perspective was not being fully valued in the media that allowed me to advance my career. As a professor, teaching and research are the key components of being successful. And I found that both in my teaching and definitely in my research publications, I was severely limited in talking about the full breadth of things like wild food, conservation, racial geographies, and my hopes and dreams for a better future. So creating video content in these same aspects really allowed me to stretch and bring more of my full self to people who I thought might be interested in the same ideas and experiences. And the last motivating factor was the tremendous challenge of learning new skills for video production. I feel in some ways that I've gone back to school, but a school that's primarily focused on experiential learning, where I get to immediately put things into practice and test to see what works and what doesn't. There's a lot to know about making high quality YouTube videos. There's even more to know about creating a business around content. And a year is not a very long time, but at the same time, I've learned so much that my knowledge and who I am today would be totally unrecognizable to myself 12 months ago. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about are my unfair advantages. And the first is that I've had a lot of practice from a very young age dealing with the discomfort of speaking to others. I grew up in the church, and while as an adult I've moved away from the church being central to my life, I gained a tremendous amount of experience speaking in front of the adults and elders that were members of that institution. And it's not so much that I don't have any fear or anxiety when I have to speak in public or speak to an audience, but I learned to be confident that what I had to say was valuable and that if I presented it well, people would listen and interact. In the career as a professor, at least 3 times out of the week, I'm standing in front of a bunch of people talking about information that's important and trying to get them to understand certain principles, ideas, and thoughts. The second advantage I want to talk about is something that almost no YouTubers mention when talking about their personal journeys of success on this platform, and that is the socioeconomic privilege that almost all of us have. Nobody seems to want to talk about this, about the fact that for me and for many people, we come from economically privileged backgrounds where we don't really have to worry about the essentials in life, and that we went to well-funded schools and had teachers that encouraged us to pursue our dreams. Now, that's not to say that everybody who's successful on YouTube had these things, but for those of us who have, we seem to be reluctant to talk about that as a factor of our success. So I think it's important for all of us to realize, and especially those who come from places of privilege, to be explicit about this. And when encouraging other people to recognize that if they have those advantages, then they can use them to work towards lowering those barriers of entry for other people. And one of the ways we can do that is to just be explicit about it and be conscious of it in everything that we do. So the last advantage that I've had in starting this YouTube channel stems from my socioeconomic privilege. Throughout my life, I've been surrounded by people from different places, different experiences, different ideas, and that's really helped broaden my horizons and believe that the truly exceptional and unique things were within my reach to accomplish. And I draw on that experience in the content that I create for this channel. Part of the reasoning for the name Out There JCH is a play on how a lot of people respond to hearing about the experiences that I've had in my life. Oftentimes they say, "Oh boy, you are out there." And as a Black person who's interested in wild food, who has a PhD in wildlife ecology, and who thinks about some of the things that I write and talk about, it's something that not a lot of people have experienced. And so this unique perspective, given the identity and the body that I live in and the experiences that I've had, I think gives me a real advantage in creating content that draws people's attention. So really, my advantages in this space come from a lot of things that I had no control over, things that I was born into, and because of the stability that other people created around me and the encouragement that they fostered, helped me push the boundaries and build something that I'm truly proud of. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about are 3 key lessons that I've learned in this year on YouTube. And the first is one that you hear all the time. The reason why you hear it all the time is because it's probably the best advice that anyone can give to anyone who's thinking about starting a YouTube channel. And that is to just get started. Whether it's script out an episode, whether it's pull out your phone and record a moment that seems interesting to you, or whatever it is, just start doing. Be action-oriented or action-biased. And to pair with that, I think something that's not often explicitly stated is that you are not going to figure this all out before you get started. So much of the process of earning an advanced degree, applying for jobs, getting research funding, and publishing said research revolves around proving to other people that you're an expert. The thing that I like about YouTube is that the expertise comes in the doing. But it's okay if what you create initially isn't that great. The second lesson that I learned in this year on YouTube is the importance of creating systems and structures that allow me to create more efficiently. Creating systems that allow me to dump and decant my creative ideas into an organized platform is really important. The platform that I found that has worked so well is one you've probably heard on this channel, and that's Notion. Now, Notion has been really important for allowing me to build what many other people have called your second brain. And the idea is that your brain is really good at creative ideas, novel ideas, and new ways of looking at things, but our brains as human beings are not that great at remembering all of the details that we need to remember to carry off a project effectively. So for this episode and every episode that I post on YouTube, I've created a template and a guide that asks me and prompts me to answer certain questions and provide certain information so that when I go to press record, I have everything that I need laid out in order. Shout out to Diana Gladney, who's written this awesome book. Also helped drive home the point that having these systems in place is really important if you want to turn your content into a business. And specifically, if you're looking to hand off the jobs of content creation, like editing, to someone else. Editing one of my videos takes about 10 hours of work, and I really struggle and still struggle to find that time in my day in order to post videos on a weekly basis. I was able to post on average every other week during this past year. So if you haven't already, I strongly encourage you to use Notion or some other program so that you don't have to think about the structure of your videos. You simply have to fill in said structure. It'll make your work go a lot more smoothly. The last lesson that I've learned from starting my YouTube channel is that the unique perspective that I have is actually worth sharing with complete strangers. We love the idea of hearing what other people think. The process of being able to share perspectives is something that I think is unique to our species and something that we crave. The rejections and the people who pass on your content aren't the ones that matter. The ones that are energized and encouraged, who are willing and interested in offering feedback, are the ones that matter. The future that you imagine, the change that you want to see, and the things you want to celebrate are important. And they matter to you and to so many other people that you haven't met yet. Okay, enough reflecting. Let's talk about the future and my 3 goals for this next coming year. So my first and I think most important goal is doubling my video output for the entire year. While this year was primarily about proving to myself that creating content on a regular basis was something that I could do, posting a video every other week falls short of the goals that I have for this channel and goals that I have for my business. You have less control over who hits the subscribe button and the most control over how much content you put out there. And of course, the more content you put out there, the greater the chances of you meeting whatever goals you have for subscribers, view counts, and monetization. The other thing that I can control, and the second of my 3 goals for this year, is to make one concrete improvement on each video moving forward. I want the next video to be slightly better in some way than the previous video. Being able to reflect on the progress that you've made is a really important source of encouragement that you can generate for yourself in this journey. Over this past year, I've gotten better at transitions, I've gotten better at lighting, better at managing my sound quality, implemented new kinds of transitions, tweaked my episode structure and introductions, developed a logo, and so many other little things that have added up to what I think is a great trajectory for building a successful channel. My final goal for the next year of this channel is to do a better job of integrating my videos and promoting my videos on different platforms. I have an Instagram account and I have a weekly newsletter. And if you haven't subscribed to the weekly newsletter, then click the link in the description. And I share my content both from this YouTube channel and from the newsletter on other social media platforms on a pretty irregular basis. Recommitting myself to sharing that content on a regular basis, putting it in my schedule, so that I get reminders of the need to promote that content. It's going to be something that is key to meeting my goals for my business and my goals for this channel. I can't say enough about the past 12 months on YouTube. It's been just one of the best experiences of my life. Being on this platform has helped me find my voice and live more true to myself. If you're at the beginning stages of your YouTube journey, even if you're just thinking about whether or not this is something that you should do, I can't encourage you enough to get going. But to make sure that at the foundation of the content that you create, you start with building good relationships. Building good relationships with yourself, building good relationships with others, and creating content that is going to add to people's lives and experiences and help others live more true to themselves as you hopefully will begin to do as a YouTuber. It's also important to be gentle with yourself. YouTube is really hard, but it's the kind of hard that's worthwhile. And you build relationships and a network of folks who are in your corner, who support you, and who want to see you succeed. Remember, your stories need to exist. Thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. If you're into wild foods, which is kind of a thing, well, I encourage you to check out this playlist where I talk about all sorts of experiences in hunting, fishing, and the social dynamics of what it means to harvest wild food in the United States of America. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Gotta have that booty meat.